Hi everybody, author Robert Spina here, and I wanted to take a little time tonight and not do what I do just about every night of my life. I wanted to take a little time and reflect on the things I've accomplished over the past 5 years. They don't really seem great or anything like that, but they are still accomplishments. And I look here and I wanted just to share a little time, see if anybody's interested, if anybody checks me out and likes this. But I just wanted to talk about the author, Robert Spina, myself. And I look here and I wanted to tell you how I got to be where I am at this point in my life right now. Ever since I was little, I always wanted to make movies and do things like that, and be in Hollywood and all that. But life is life, and you get caught up in life, and you do what you got to do to survive. And finally, about 10 years ago, I said it's time to make it happen. Things don't just happen. People don't come find you. Nobody's going to walk up to your door with a wheelbarrow of gold and say, "Here you go, do what you want to do." It does. Life doesn't work like that. We all know that. So about 10 years ago, I said, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do what I got to do. I started putting talent pages on the web. I went to New York City on casting calls. I went to New York City pitching my books to Hollywood executives. And everything I've done, I'm proud of it. It's good experience, but there's just no response ever. And so I sit here a lot, very frustrated, kind of depressed, but I try to stay positive, I try to stay upbeat, and I sit here and I look, I have 8 published books, great stories, great original Robert Spina stories, with great imagination, great characters, which are copywritten to my name, and it's something to be proud about. All my books on robertspinabooks.com. They're available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I have 7 of my 8 books here. The 8th book, which is the 3rd book in the Vegan Rage series, is not, I don't have it yet, but I'll be getting it this week. All my books from the very first book I ever wrote come in hardcover, softcover, and any ebook format you use, iPhone, iTunes, there's just so many things, whatever it is. But every night of my life for over 5 years now, I've just been thinking about how do I get to be where I want to be and what do I want to do. And I've talked with a lot of people, done a lot of things, and somebody said to me one time, well, Robert, you got to write the books. Write the books, get them copywritten to your name. That way, if anybody wants to make the movies, then they got to talk to you. So I had already written a book and a half when that happened, and the first book I ever wrote on paper with a pen was Spina Comes Home. And this book I wrote like me watching the movie. This is the character I want to play, Greg and the Little Warrior, in the movie. And so this is the first book I ever wrote, and it's very, very cool. It is very, very cool. I want to make this movie so bad. Someday I hope to get that done, and I'm going to keep working to try to get that done. The second book I ever wrote, 1 Second Can Change Your Life, hardcover, softcover, is great. And now that I'm 8 books into this, 5 years later, I realize I'm starting to create a niche for myself. I am starting to create the Robert Spina identity. All my books are on a web page, which I've maintained for 5 years now. And one thing that's very hard is, of course, no different for me than everybody else, is the money aspect. One thing that was hard is when I started doing things, I said, well, how am I going to pay for it? How am I going to do this? The reality is you're not going to have the money to do it. You got to go in debt to do the things you want to do. And since 2013, when I published my first book, the first book I actually published was 1 Second Can Change Your Life, I went into debt to do that. And I now, 5 years later, am almost 10 times further in debt than I was when I did this. just the things I've done. But I look back and I'm proud of my accomplishments. There's a very unique identity to the Robert Spina book collection that I have created for myself. This is a no kiddie pop zone. This is Robert Spina. This is for mature adults. And my books have grown and evolved. And, you know, I've got the Vegan Rage books, which are... When I was thinking about these, I love Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and The Hobbit and all that kind of stuff. Vegan Rage really is the next evolution in the multiple movie fantasy genre. It really is. Vegan Rage it's brilliant. For the people that get into it and read it, it's complete imagination, different universe, different worlds, how Vegan Rage gets there, and the prophecies written about them with dragons and cool monsters and creatures. And there's a lot of violence and brutality in here. And the thing that's different about this and other Magic series books is Vegan Rage has great magic, and he uses it, and he uses it violently because it's used against him very violently, and it's super, super cool stuff. The third book, which I will be bringing to you and talking more about lately extensively, the Vegan Rage series, because that is my signature series. The third book, it just continues with blood and guts and a whole boatload of sex. It's really, really good stuff. But what I have done with my books is try to use my imagination, create a story, and I'm not trying to follow society and society's guidelines. I'm trying to create what does a small-time boy or girl do in you know, rural America. You grow up, what do you know? You don't know anything. You just have yourself. You go outside and there's a bunch of woods. You know, there's cows in the field next door. You know, and for the people who live in the cities and stuff, I never lived in the city. I've been there, seen it, but all the books that I write are about characters put into pretty tragic situations, and how are they going to work their way out of it and get out of it. And of course there's always a group of people out to get them or do this or that. The infected man, super cool stuff. I like to start my books when the boy or the girl is very young, something happens to them, and I like to go through the book, and I've really got to the point now with my latest books, Rob and Crystal, An Unlikely Love That Will Save the World. It's just a great story, cool stuff. A young boy grows up and there's funny situations that I think people will relate to, you know. Adults will relate to kids doing things when they're kids that the adults remember doing when they were kids, they want to be so mad at the kids, but they're just so adorable. They're laughing hysterically. They want to scold them, but they can't. Then Evan Morster, The Assassin's Son. The story starts off with a boy being very young. The father is an assassin. He never knew his father. Goes through talking about Evan Morster and his life and how he got to be where he was till that fateful day where he meets his father and realizes he's been targeted for assassination. And it's just, this book, it's, you know, I try to bring emotion out of you. I think that if I can write a book and somebody starts reading it and before they know it they're crying, I've brought emotion out of that person. And they may be very mad at me, they may be very upset, but they're going to remember that. They're going to want more. They're going to be like, how did this guy do this? And, you know, if you read this book, when you read this book, you're going to be laughing, you're going to be crying, and the things that happen, they're going to break your heart. Rob and Crystal, great love story. You know, how many of you girls out there just be laying at home in bed and you close your eyes and you're like, oh, why couldn't the man of my dreams just be right here? And then all of a sudden you open your eyes, there he is, to do whatever you want to do to you. But it can't be that easy, can it? There's got to be a catch. And of course, with Rob and Crystal, there's a catch, and it's a big one. She falls in love, and the next thing she knows, she's got to save the world. Super, super cool imagination. Cool stuff. But I wanted to take a few minutes tonight, and instead of just come home and write all night and brainstorm and think about how I'm nowhere and nothing, I've got 8 books. I've got 8 books, so I've got to get out. I've got to be seen. I hope you check out my little short video here. I don't want to take up all night. but these are really, really great books. This is Robert Spina, The Imagination of Robert Spina. It's all fiction. None of this is real. And there's a lot of violence, a lot of brutality, a lot of romance, a lot of love, a lot of sex. And I'm just trying to write stories that the readers, when you read them, you're crying because it's so beautiful. You're crying because it's so tragic. You're crying because you can relate and you've been there. And so I'm going to keep pushing forward. When I first started with my first book, I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be a struggle. It was going to be very difficult, and there's no question it is. It's just as hard for me as it is for everybody out there. But I told myself when I started, just keep working hard, see it through, keep going. I now have 8 books, you know, and my next book is already halfway done, and I just have great ideas for great books. And for all of us out there, you know, whether you want to make music, whether you want to make movies, whether you want to write books, if you want to do something in the creative field, if you like to draw paintings and things like that, it's a tough go. It's always a side business. It's hard to make money doing what you do, and it seems like you're working so hard all the time, and very little of the work you're doing is the actual work you want to be doing. But you just keep trying hard. People have written to me, people have called me, and they say, Rob, you're so inspiring. I love what you do. Keep doing it. I can't thank you enough. It means a lot. When you say to people, you know, I look up to you, you inspire me, it's very motivating. It's very much needed. And so I have tried my best to write stories that you can identify with. You know, a lot of the things that happens in these books, you're going to say, how did he think of that? How did he come up with it? I'm just letting my imagination go. And sometimes when I'm writing the books, you know, I just watch the movie in my head, and a lot of the times the movie writes itself. You know, the book writes itself as I'm watching it, and I come up with stuff, and I'm like, that is so good. That's so good. They're gonna love this. So I just wanted to take a few minutes. Thank you so much. I don't want to be all night with you. I'm going to try to put out videos talking about each of my books individually. The Vegan Rage series, really quick, I've got 3 books in the Vegan Rage series. The first one, The Magic User. The second one, Dragon Reclaim. The third one, Demon Rising, which is coming out this week. There's going to be at least 2 more books in the series, and these books are 500+ page long books. They're brilliant. They're brilliant, and they are going to be huge blockbuster movies. They're going to be. They just are. All of these books were written to be made into movies, so I'm going to keep working hard, keep putting them out, keep trying to be seen, be heard, and I hope you spend some time with me. I hope you check out robertspinabooks.com, the Robert Spina book collection. If you like to read, check out my books. You're going to get a book, you're going to read it, you're going to be like, that book was so good. I'm so mad at him, I hate him, I'm going to kill him. But it was such a good book. So thank you for spending some time with me, and I will be coming back soon with, you know, short little videos talking about each of the books individually. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.